So welcome back. In this video, we are going to discuss selecting items in Illustrator, moving around, zooming in and out, and generally navigating around in your document. So let's go ahead and start with selecting. An important thing to understand in Illustrator is we actually have two different ways that we can select things. And to represent that, we've got two different selection tools. There is the regular selection tool, the black arrow up here, and then we also have something called the direct select tool. We're going to go into much more detail about what the direct selection tool does for us in a couple of weeks. But for now, just understand the difference between the two of them. The selection tool is used for selecting entire objects. So we can see that if I just click on one of these lighter areas, it actually selects this entire star shape. That is where we're getting this pattern in the background from. In contrast, if I click away here and then I click on my direct select tool and I click, you can see I'm only getting one of the triangles in that pattern. So at a basic level, that's the difference. The selection tool is going to select an entire object or shape or a group, depending on what we've done in Illustrator. The direct select tool just selects one portion of that. And again, not only next week when we look at the pen tool, but the week after that, we're going to get into much more detail on selections and how they work and what this tool does for us. But at this level, just be aware that there's that basic difference. Now, there's another thing going on here. If I go back to my regular selection tool, again, just click off so nothing is selected, and I try and select my fish. The only thing that Illustrator seems to want to select is this star shape. And that's happening because these other objects in my current piece of art here are actually locked. So I'm going to come over here to my panels over on the right, and I'm going to click on layers. And again, layers is something that we're going to have a lot more time to discuss in upcoming weeks. But for now, we just want to be aware that our layers panel shows basically the organization of our document. And on this large fish layer, you'll see it's actually locked. There's this padlock here. And when a layer is locked, you can't select anything on it. So if I click there to remove that lock, come back over to my piece of art, you can see that I can now select this fish. And because I'm on my regular selection tool, I can pick up the fish and move it around as a single object. So I'm going to put it back sort of roughly where it was. So just be aware of that. If you open up a Illustrator file that was created by somebody else and there's stuff on there that you can't seem to select, it's probably because that layer is locked. So you want to go to your layers panel and check that out and unlock it if necessary. Now, when you're working in an Illustrator document, you're going to find that there are times when you need to sort of step back and look at the big picture and then zoom in to be able to see the fine details of your artwork. And so there's a bunch of different ways that we can zoom in and out in Illustrator. I'm actually not going to cover all of them here. I just want to cover the top couple that you're likely to want to remember and actually use. So one is to use the actual zoom tool. So the zoom tool is this magnifying glass that's at the bottom of our toolbar. And if I click on the zoom tool and move over a portion of my artwork here, you can see that I get the magnifying glass with a little plus. I click on that and it is going to zoom in. And whatever I click on is actually going to center in my screen. If I want to zoom back out, I need to press and hold the Alt key. If you're on a Mac, it's the Option key. And you'll see that that turns my plus into a minus. And now I can click, and this time I'm going to end up zooming out. So with the zoom tool, clicking zooms you in, Alt or Option clicking zooms you out. But very often I'm going to be wanting to work on some piece of my project here, and I need to zoom in and out, and I don't want to take the time to move my mouse all the way over to the toolbar, click on the zoom tool, come back here, zoom in on what I want, and then come back over to whatever tool I'm working with, select it again. That's going to waste a lot of time. So there's actually a fast way that you can temporarily get your zoom tool while remaining on some other tool. So just to demonstrate this, I'm going to select the pen tool. That's the third tool down here. Don't worry at all right now about what the pen tool does. All of next week is going to be devoted to the pen tool. But what you want to notice is that when I come into my artwork here, I now have this pen tool. And if I'm doing something working with my pen and I want to quickly zoom in, what I can do is simultaneously press both the Control and the spacebar. That's Control spacebar in Windows, Command spacebar on a Mac. And you'll see that while I hold down those two keys together, I get my zoom tool. So now I can zoom in, and then as soon as I let go of those keys, I'm back to whatever tool I had before. Now, when I was using the regular zoom tool, Alt or Option allowed me to switch to the Zoom Out tool, and the same thing applies here. Control or Command Spacebar gives me the Zoom In, Control or Command Spacebar and Alt or Option gives me the Zoom Out tool. Now, all of those are fine for sort of stepping in and out of our document, but if we want to just quickly be able to see the whole thing again, we can use the keyboard shortcut Control-0 or Command-0. This zooms us back out to the fit to window magnification. So whatever size my artboard is, it will zoom me out to fit that. On my particular screen, given my screen resolution and the size of this image, that took me to 142.47%. If you have a different size monitor, you will get a different percentage there. Couple of other useful shortcuts there. Control 1 takes us to 100%. The other control numbers do other things for us, but Control 1 is 100%, Control 0 is fit to screen. So just keep those two keyboard shortcuts in mind as you work in your document. They will dramatically speed up your work. Also, definitely remember Control Spacebar as a way to temporarily get the zoom tool. I'll tell you, when I'm working in Illustrator, I actually never come over and click on the zoom tool in the toolbar. When I need it, I Control Spacebar, zoom in, Control Alt Spacebar to zoom back out. Oops, missed the shortcut there. Control 0 to get to fit to screen. If you just do those things, you'll be able to very easily zoom in and out to the magnifications that you need. One other quick thing talking about zooms. When we have zoomed in on the document, we might want to be able to move around to see other parts of the document without zooming back out. So again, there's a specific tool for this. It's actually hidden under the zoom tool. So if I come over here and I press and hold on the zoom tool, you'll see there's a hand tool. Click on the hand tool and you can see this allows me to move around in my document without actually zooming in and out. But just like with the zoom tool, there's actually a handy keyboard shortcut for this. So again, I'm going to switch to some other tool, beyond the pen tool. If I've been working here, I want to move over to see the tail of this fish without zooming out. I can simply press and hold the space bar. Space bar all by itself. That temporarily gives me the hand tool. So I can move around to wherever I want. And then when I release the space bar, I'm back to whatever tool I was using before. So again, to quickly review that, Control or Command spacebar gives me the zoom tool. Control or Command, Alt or Option, and the spacebar gives me the Zoom Out tool. Control 0, fit to screen. Control 1 is 100%. And then if I have zoomed in, the spacebar will allow me to drag or pan around on my screen to see different portions of the artwork. So definitely keep those shortcuts in mind, not only because I'm going to test you on them, but also because they will dramatically speed up your ability to work in Illustrator.